Okay, shall we kick it off? I think because otherwise we might not get through the agenda. I think there's a whole range of people on the call. I think we've got quite a few existing customers on the call, and people who I know have got some experience, considerable experience in a lot of instances of Dynamics Business Central, or at least Navision and Dynamics NAV, the previous products. We've also got some people who are completely new to it, so I'll try and bridge that gap and cover the two. So forgive me if I'm telling you stuff that you already know. So just to carry on, my name is James Krauser. I've been working with Dynamics for 25 odd years now. Too long is probably the phrase that I always use. Just want to check that you can all hear me and everything's clear. This session is a 60-minute session, so I'll try and rattle through. I'm not always great at keeping to time, but I'll try not. I'm under sentence of death if I'm late, so because the next sessions follow on behind this. Just really going to cover a little bit of the history very quickly. Some of the clients, lots of this I'll flick backwards and forwards. I'm going to get into the product very quickly rather than lots of PowerPoint. Talk about the kind of customization and extension side, what you can do with that, both as an end user and also as a developer a little bit. I'm not going to get too technical in this session at all, though. And as Liam's already highlighted, trying to have a Q&A. I'll try and ask questions if we go along. We have got quite a lot of people on this call, so probably if you can type them in the chat box rather than interrupt as we go along, and then I'll give us some time at the end to actually turn the mic on and ask the questions. So Dynamics 365 Business Central, what is it? It's a product that I've already implied, used to be called Navision back in the day, Danish product that Microsoft bought in 2002, and then renamed to Dynamics NAV, and now have renamed to Business Central. As part of that, they've also rebuilt the product ready for to be cloud ready. So it does now run. You have a choice of running it on premise or as a SaaS service. It's a subscription. You can literally sign up and be using it in 5 minutes later. No install process required if you choose the SaaS cloud version. Device friendly, it's now purely browser based. So where you used to have a Windows client, that's now gone away, no longer there. There are clients, as I'll show you, for the phone and the tablet that you can use. You'll see what those look like. So really, we're trying to make sure that you can use it anywhere you need to be. Scalable and configurable, yeah. So scalable, certainly. You know, we have clients that are using it that are over into billion turnovers, literally, and tens of thousands of dispatches, shipments per day. So it is scalable. I'm a consultant by background, so I'll steer away from the sales spiel and say, you know, if you're using it at scale, we need to do things slightly different from if you're using it with just 5 or 10 users in a very small scale. Some of the real-time aspects we tend to put as batch processes rather than everybody posting all at the same time, because you do get a certain amount of performance impact and contention there. So we do, that's where really the consultant can come in to guide you as what is sensible for your level of scale and so on. I think the key thing with Business Central is actually the key benefit of Dynamics NAV, which is it's extensible by third parties. You can make this product do anything. Now, there is a question about whether you should. What we have, which is truly different for me, is a lot of ability to buy in those extensions, as they're called, from third parties. There's now a full marketplace. So whereas you really only used to buy stuff by your partner, now you can buy it from anybody via app source, as it's called. And that means that you're not restricted in the way that you were. We as a partner in the UK are, selling our IP, our extensions to people in places like South Africa, Kenya, Colombia, the US, lots, all over the world. And so you can go and find the best solution for you and put that in, try it out, and if you need to, put it into your solution. Business Central, front screen, role center. So exactly the same way as Dynamics NAV. I should stop saying that. We have a role. We have lots of different roles that we can go in and set up. And the idea is that you have a role that's appropriate to your role within the business. So if you're an order processor, clearly you pick the order processing role center. If you're a production planner, etc., you get. And one thing to note is it's now much easier to create roles which are specific. So if you want something specific for your business, you don't, none of the preset roles are appropriate. Creating those is now, half an hour's work and well worth doing. You can really make them tuned in, so it's much quicker to navigate around for your particular organization. In the front role center, it's designed, the design was designed to look like a newspaper. That was the design idea behind it. So you've got big menus at the top for the major sections that you can jump into, and you can see the individual menus for those. You've got these headlines in the middle. I'm a little on the shelf about the value of those versus the performance impact of going and finding that information. But again, if you've got something that you really want to, some KPIs that you want to highlight, you can build those headlines appropriate to you. Major numbers, and then you go down to the kind of ongoing activities, and this scrolls down. Things you can put graphs on this section. I haven't fired this up, but you can also link that up to Power BI. So it's not just information purely from within Dynamics Business Central. You can also link that up to anything that you've made your Power BI report on. Once we're into the application, we can then start to drill down into the individual areas. So perhaps I should go and look at items. One of the areas that's had a lot of work done is actually some of the list views. We now have the ability to look at those list views. Let me just turn the fact boxes off. And we can look at them by tiles now and lists. So why would that be important? Well, maybe not when I'm looking at some of the, but once I scroll down into some of the furniture items where the demo data starts to have pictures, it starts to get more visual. Obviously, I can't see a lot on those, so you've got the option to turn them into smaller tiles. Scroll it down again, and you can go back to perhaps the more conventional list view, and so on. When you get into here, the web client has become significantly more functional in terms of they continually added capability that you've been used to. Those of you that used to use the Windows client or still do use the Windows client are used to being able to drag and drop columns around, adjust the width, etc. And that is still there. That is now there in the web client the same way as it was. Very quick to kind of make it larger, smaller, turn the fact boxes on and off. Fact boxes, what am I referring to there for those that are new? Well, these boxes on the right hand side, as I scroll up and down the different and click on a different item, you'll see the fact boxes change. In the fact boxes or in the list view where something is underlined and typically in blue, I can drill into that. And so, for instance, very quickly get from the list view into the other type of screen, which is the card view. Again, this is set up very conventionally these days. So you've got different sections do it. So you can open a section, close a section, have what you want to do. You've got three classifications that you can give to the information within that section. So when it's closed up, I can have importance, set an important highlight. so I can still see certain information. I can have the normal information, or I can have show more, which expands it out, so then I get a full view, or show less. So if I've got fields I don't use very often, I can put those in the additional, as the additional classification, as it's called, and just expand them out. So the kind of tailoring to get it right for your organization has gone 1 or 2 steps further than normal, than it used to, in terms of being able to set that up. If I come back to the list view here, perhaps to take that tailoring a little bit further, if I go into Personalize, again, I've got the function that I used to have in the Windows client, where I can go in and change it for me. So I can go in and, for instance, set to hide substitutes exist. That's now gone for me. So I can strip the screens off and set them up how I wanted them, exactly the same way as you used to. Going a step further than that, if I just flick across into my Sandbox instance, so when you use it on SaaS, you get this test instance, which is a complete copy, and I'll show you a little bit later how you create that. Very quick and easy to spin up a test instance. But if I just run across to the item list in the Sandbox, and because this is a Sandbox, I can make more changes. It's not my live production instance, and therefore it's safe for me to make more changes. So when I go to the tools menu on here, I actually get design. Okay, and this flicks me in, providing I'm the administrator, it flicks me into the design area. And so I can start now making more changes to this area. One of the things I can do is check how my changes look on the tablet view. And so this is where I get, again, the view. If I flick back to the tools option on that and flick down, you start to see when you get into a tablet view, again, it's set up so it's got much more, the fields are further apart, so it's in effect finger friendly. When I flick into the phone view, again, it's designed to go up and down a phone. So it runs on iOS and Android. If you go to your app store, you'll find those particular apps in there. So as part of the design view, if I just go back, I can then start making changes. And one of the things I can start to do, go back to my list view. Click into a card again and start to add fields. So previously, where if you wanted description 2 on the screen, you'd have to come and raise a request for your partner typically to do that. Now it's as easy as drag and drop that on. Okay. And the little circle will go around, and hopefully in a second, that description 2 is now available on that particular screen. So I can start to make changes. I can go and add actions. I can even add parts to this page, make those changes. When I stop designing, it will save those into a custom extension. So in effect, I've got those saved as a particular set of changes, and they will persist through any future upgrade that I go through, or I can uninstall those changes if I decide that actually I don't like those. So let me just save that. Bit slow today. and you can see that description 2 is now there for me to have. So I could go back, I could put that same description 2 on the list page if I wanted. One of the changes is Microsoft have increased all of the field sizes. So the description 1 on the item card, those of you who used Dynamics in the past will remember that it was 30 characters. You pretty much needed description 2. Now it's 100 characters. Customer names are now 50 characters. They have been much more generous in the field sizes so that you don't actually need those, the second ones so many times. Just back.
Hi, James, are you there?
Looks like we might just have lost him there. Let me just see if I can.
My headset's just clicked, so I've just switched microphone. I hope you can still hear me. Liam, is that okay?
Yeah, you're back now, mate. Thank you.
Seem to be having a few gremlins with Teams this morning. Hi, Liam, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, James. We can hear you.
Got a few headsets with gremlins with headsets and so on this morning. I'm sorry. So I can do cross-column search. So what does that mean? It means, instead of having to pick the column, I can just select wheel. Okay, and immediately the screen changes to that filter. So much quicker. Can be a performance impact on very large data sets. It can take a few seconds, as you can imagine, to click in. I still have all the filter capability that I'm used to. So I can go in and set different filters. So go and look at any of the visible fields or the non-visible fields. So they have actually set the alternatives on there in terms of which you want. And one of the features, I've actually cheated a little bit, but if I go into description and just clear that filter out and type in ampersand, you've got all the wildcards. Okay, I then get chair anywhere in the description. And what I can do then is go and save that. So again, exactly the same as the save view. So all of this has now come to the web client and actually a lot more functional. And you can see there I've already done that save, but I could set that up. One of the other features that's also there is the ability to bookmark different pages, reports, columns on there. So up on the top corner, you've got add this bookmark to your role center. And if I click on that as a user, when I go back to the role center, that now has been added to my my role center. If I go and just refresh, and you can see again, you're just one click away from doing that. So I talked about the ability to navigate around and add extra features to the. On the top toolbar, you've got the search. Alt-Q gets you straight to it. So that's what I tend to use rather than clicking on it. And tell me what I want to do. And I can type literally anything in that, and it starts to give me a list. And if I type extensions in there, I can go into the extensions. So the extensions are additions to the base solution that's from Microsoft. So if I go into extension management, that change that I made where I added the description to, you can see that's now an extension in there and the words that I typed. So actually I could actually go and take that out, uninstall that change whenever I want to, however I want to. when I go into extension, let's just go and type Reddit control in there. And, you know, one of the options that I've got is it not just shows me the tasks that are available within the product. If I want to see the different reports, I can go and see those. I can also go and see the solutions from AppSource. And I will just click on one of our solutions, which is Clever Credit, which is a credit control app. That's a free trial. Now, if I click on free trial, for it to come up, page refresh. My bandwidth's suffering a bit, perhaps at the moment. And I could go and put my account, just excuse me while I get my email address for this test instance. I'm running all of this on the cloud instance this morning. Now, when I click, come on. There we go. I have to give permission. And it will take me to Business Central to complete this process. So that's actually going to install that application into my Sandbox instance here. I'm going to stick it into my Sandbox, but I could then do the same process into my production. So very quick to add things in. I'll click install on that. That'll take 2 or 3 minutes. So rather than sitting and watch it, I'll go through. You know, again, one of the reasons why this is risk-free in effect is I can go and take things out. So, you know, there's one in here, QuickBooks data migration. One Microsoft put in a standard. I'm never going to use it. Let's just go and uninstall that. And again, you'll see that that is getting rid of that extension, getting rid of those changes. It's as quick as easy as that, 2 clicks, and in effect, that has now gone. So refresh the page and it's there. So you'll now see that some clever dynamics, some of that clever config, it's done the first 2 dependent extensions have clicked in, and in a little bit later we'll see the Clever Credit app pop up on the menu automatically. Extensions, you know, you can get them from AppSource, but you can also create your own. So I promise not to be too technical, so I won't go into this. There is now no restriction, no licensing restriction on who can create extensions. So you can do that as an end user if you have the right skills. That is writing code. I'll just drag and drop my my code editor on top, you know, and you can see for those of you who've got some cloud, you define tables. If I go in and write, you'll see it's very similar, very Pascal, very similar to the code that we used to write for Dynamics NAV there. I can write that code and then deploy that into my Sandbox and try that out. So you can do that if you have somebody in your organization who has development experience. There are now no licensing restrictions. You don't have to spend, it was actually about 20 grand for Dynamics now to get that capability. You can do that actually yourself. So that I think is a distinct plus that they're opening this up for really anybody to be able to develop any changes to the core system, not just quick partners. So let's go look at a little bit more of the standard application rather than talking about the development. Again, you know, I can go into things like a customer. I can sort very quickly. All of that capability is there. I can go and set a filter. So let's just go, not set a flow filter, but filter perhaps by balance due is greater than 0. And I just then get the 1 or 2 accounts. These filters are incredibly powerful. You know, going in and filtering your item list by the products that you need to, that you've got a shortage of, going in and then saving that so you can quickly get back to it. Looking at the instance, the customers that are overdue, looking at the sales orders that are overdue for delivery, purchase orders the same. Really, it allows you to very quickly get back to the information rather than having to sort through information and find it. Filters are a key aspect of the application. Very similarly, when I go and drill into a customer, you know, I can go and look at the balance of that customer, go and review the information. The fact box tells me the outstanding invoices. Just go in and drill into that. I've added clever credit, so it's telling me to refresh the customer card. That means it's successfully installed, so I've now got some extra capability in here. So I just have to reopen it. Let me refresh my client completely. I will go back in and you'll see clever credit on the front screen, and then it'll let me do what I want to with that customer. So demo gods are not with me this morning quite the same way. Let me go into balance. There we go. 3 invoices that are outstanding, all the capability that people are used to in terms of I can then go and navigate to anywhere those that particular invoice has hit. I'm 1 click away from seeing the invoice. So there's the invoice for, in this instance, a Paris guest chair. I can go and see where everywhere that's hit the GL, exactly the same, you know, maybe turn the fact box. Actually interesting incoming document files. You know, if that was a purchase transaction and I'd scanned and attached the purchase invoice to that, I'd be 1 click away from producing the underlying document for that particular entry there back, so that I can see what it's posted. So things like VAT entries, value entries are where it's hit, the inventory costing, very, very quick to navigate around the system. Don't have to keep going back and looking at the transaction. Similarly, turn the fact box off. One of the things I'd highlight for the, shouldn't call you newbies, but I will, is that we've got a mount and a mount LCY. So the system is multi-currency by transaction. So if I scroll back a little bit, I can see the currency code. I don't have it here, but if I take the customer filter off, so we see all transactions, have I got one in a foreign currency? That's overdue. No. Maybe if I go open, so I see all transactions ever, have I got one in a foreign currency on the sales ledger? Maybe not. Again, I could sort that to see exactly. No. But yeah, multi-currency by transaction, again, you see a lot of status. And here you see the clever credit status code. So that extension that I added is now allowing me to set a status code per ledger entry. So if I have an invoice, I can say what the status of that invoice is. Maybe it's queried by the customer, maybe it's on hold for some reason. And so I can categorize those now and see those. So that's where that extension capability really starts to come to play into the product. And you can see how it's completely integrated into the core product. You see clever credit is now on there, and I can either search or I can navigate via the menus into a sales order. Click new, and it's come up with the screen. And then I start searching. Lots of transactions, lots of effort has been putting into making it easier to use. So rather than having to know whether I'm searching on a particular transaction, a particular field, I can start to search and then in effect go or I can do a lookup. You saw it pop the canon group in there, but I can go and do a lookup from the field as in the traditional view. It will go and search across multiple fields. So I'm searching on name, account numbers really become academic. You have to have one, but they're not used. You don't have to learn what the different account numbers or even item numbers are across the system. Again, I've got my resolution. And one of the things I like is, those of you might know the trick of going Control plus, Control minus in the browser, allow me to, in effect, make it larger or smaller. So I'm just now holding the Control key down and going and spreading it out so actually I can see more and more of the screen. So again, scaling it, regardless of the resolution that your users use in the web client, allows you to fit more in, depending largely on how good your eyesight is. That may be a bit small, so maybe I need to scroll in, particularly where sharing the screen remotely. So we have some of the advantages of running in a browser over and above things that we could do in a Windows client. Again, I can control the order in which I jump to different quick entry, as it's called. So where the cursor goes next. I'm popping, and if I go and put that in, I now get what's called a notification at the top of the screen, because it says the available inventory for item 2000S is lower than the entered quantity in this location. I haven't got 5. So these notifications, again, across system, we can create new notifications, so you can have new alerts if you want to term them as that, and you can do an action against that. So if I go and show details, it will pop up and say, you've got none in this location. You've got, so you're going to have -5 when this order goes through. Clearly -5 isn't great. I have got 38 across all locations. So maybe I should go and look and see which locations I've actually got them in, the 38 in. And I can see I've got, in the unspecified location, I've got 25. So I might actually be okay to go and cancel that and just go. And you see now that alert has disappeared. So again, it's trying to give you targeted information at the point at which you've got a problem, quote unquote, or that it thinks you might need to do something, and go and see that. If I scroll down now on the right hand side into the fact box, okay, I can see my item availability, and I'll just show you some of the information you can drill, a type of screen you can drill into. So this now goes through. Let me just make it wider. You can choose the widescreen or the in. Inventory management, inventory stock is all about having the right amount of stock at the right time. So here on the Monday, I've got -5 is the order I've just put in. But I can drill down and go into that, and I can actually see I've got 25 coming in. So I started with 38. I've got a purchase order of 25 that are supposed to arrive, and effectively I've got one sales order of -5, which means at the end of the day, I should end up with 58 in stock. If that purchase order was set to come in a couple of days' time, I would only be a click away from saying to the customer, we haven't got them today, but we get them on Wednesday. I can supply them. You could have them for Thursday. Is that okay? So we're trying really to pull the information that somebody like a sales order processor needs, so that they're only a click or two away. And I think the navigation has really improved leaps and bounds in terms of the way you navigate around the system, the way that those alerts can pop up, those notifications can pop up, so that you're not in effect bombarding the system, the user, with so much information that they don't actually need. Arguably, you can turn the fact boxes off and just rely on the notifications and get to it from there when you need it, rather than having the screens cluttered up with lots of information all of the time. So consistency is another part of the product. So if I went across and looked at a purchase order, now I've done a sales order, you would see that, again, very, very similar in terms of layout, the way information is structured. As we scroll up and down the screens, we've got the different areas that pop up. One of the criticisms was, when I've got so much of the screen open, I can only see 4 lines of the order. So guess what? We have a focus mode where you can turn it in, where you look at the lines on the order, 1 click, and then you're 1 click away from switching it back so that you can see the header and the footer of the order much more simply. And with lines, you can fit, I think it's about 20 lines on that order. So again, you can scroll. If you have a larger order, you can see much more information around how it works. So they really have, over the last few releases of the product, really trying to take the feedback from people and effectively tune the product to make it really fast and efficient to use. And I'll say, as a long time user of the old Windows client, now the web client is vastly my preferred client to use. When I have to go back to the older versions, I really miss some of the capability that I've got on the Windows client. I promised you a look at some of the administration functions of the product. So if I go to the toolbar and I go to the Admin Center, this is where, in effect, I said about setting up a Sandbox instance. In effect, I've got my production instance, my live instance on the SaaS environment, and I've already created my Sandbox, as you've seen, we've just been in it. But if I highlight the production instance and go new, I can go and create a new copy of live. I can make that, again, a Sandbox, a test instance. And when I do a Sandbox, I can copy my production instance and go on. If there was a new version of the product available, Microsoft have released a major update, I could select to do a test upgrade of my production instance into the new version of the product with the into a Sandbox, so that I could try out that release of the product. And if I go into that and set that going, I can just click create. Oh, can't have spaces. The name, click create, and you'll see that pop onto the list. So that will be creating a copy of my production instance. It will take 5 to 10 minutes. We may see it finish, we may not, before the end of this session. But clearly what that has to do is go and do the, it's doing SQL level copies. You can see that's preparing right now. So it's not usable till it's ready to active, but it's there. When I go into an instance, I click into my Sandbox instance. I've got lots of different options here. So I can go and create a database export. So I can take a copy of my data off the SaaS tenant and bring that back by local. So if I want to backup, I can effectively do that. There is a restriction to only doing that. I think it's once a week currently, because there is some cost to Microsoft of doing that. So they've put some restrictions on that. I can manage the sessions, so manage who is using the product. This is totally integrated with Office 365. I haven't shown you that yet, but I will in a second. I can go and see which users are logged in and actually don't manage that. I can also manage the apps. So This is a key part of the product, I think, going forward, and the way Microsoft is going in terms of managing when updates happen. At the moment they happen, Microsoft apply them automatically, but the future is that even the core application, which is the, if you like, the base app, so the general ledger, the inventory, the sales, the purchase, is now an extension in here. And if there was an available update, I will be able to go and say when I want to apply that update in a future release. So their intention is to put users in control of updates. So you'll be able to define when that happens on SaaS, when that happens online. It just takes a little bit of time. It's checked that they're all up to date, and it's just going to list down the latest versions. So a lot of control in terms of where. A lot of telemetry. Let's see what telemetry it's collected. Has it collected any? Go and see what has changed. So if I've made any changes to the system, I can see what's happened to that, and things like long-running queries and so on are reported. Outages. This is a SaaS platform. They quote 99.9% uptime, but with any platform, Microsoft are doing, so you can go and see if there were any outages when there are. We've seen very few to date. If I can think of 2 instances in 2 years where there've been an outage, and neither of them lasted for longer than an hour. So their platform is getting steadily much more reliable. So the admin center is really control of the application. Okay, so within Outlook, I talked about integration with Office 365. This is the online web version of Outlook. So again, it's there. You can see the Dynamics 365 is part of this setup. The users and security are all integrated. I've sent a test email in, and what I've got is when that email comes in, I can go and flick, and one of the options I've got is Business Central. Go and look at the contact insights. My email address is not now yet connected with a Business Central contact. So I can go and add myself as a contact. I can go and link that to a particular company. So I'll link it to the category. And now, because I've done that for a new contact, what we're going to start to see is some information about the Canon group. So I'm starting to see overdue sales orders. I'm starting to see customer statistics. I'm seeing, in effect, their sales, their balances, what payments they're due, what's overdue in terms of there. So I can now start to drill down into this information and pick that up from that account. So very fast from there, I could also go and create a sales order. So I'm still working within Outlook, but very quickly I've taken an instance, and in this instance, I could go and create the sales order. Link that quite correctly, but go and create that sales quote and then reply to that, all purely within the Outlook instance. One of the other things I'll show you is, you get a call, you want information very quickly, and so you saw me do that filter on chairs a little bit earlier. So within the browser, I start a new tab, and I'll just type BC and I, and then space, and you'll see that the browser, it's changed to search Business Central items, and then I type chair, very much like I did within the core product, and press enter, and that automatically starts my Business Central instance, takes me to the item list, and does the filter on chairs. So suddenly I can start to answer that question about what inventory we've got, very quickly. And that kind of says, well, okay, BCI, Business Central items, that's a little bit of a change. So TechMan have created a product called Global Search. So here I could go back to the browser. I could type Business Central and then space. So it comes up with a cross-common search. And then if I just type, for instance, John, and press enter. And it needs me to log in this instance. Every few initiates, it just asks you to confirm that you are the user you are. And again, it's starting Business Central Options. And this is coming into the page, the global search page. So here I have literally across every item, everywhere John appears in different pieces of information that I said I want to index. So I've got John in the name, so I can click on that particular piece and I'm then across to that customer card, or I can close that and go down and see a result. John Smith, the resource. Again, you get the idea where I'm jumping or right through to different contacts and so on. So really access information so much faster, so much quicker than you could before. So it's 11:22, and I promised to leave plenty of time for questions.
We have got a few in the chat, James. So it'd be good if we could maybe have a look at those. Unless you've got anything else you need to show?
No, I left a good 5 minutes for questions.
Okay, so there's 3 questions I've got at the moment. So how easy is it to add your own custom fields to items, customers and vendors, or your own custom objects?
So that does require the development tool set that I required you to show. We have something called a table extension, which allows you to add those extra fields. That creates an extension so you can quickly transfer that. The extensions is how this survives upgrade, because it uninstalls the extensions, applies the application upgrade, and then reinstalls those as the extension. It does require a small amount of development skill. I would say I could train you to create your own custom fields and add that to pages. A 2-hour training course tops to do that. And largely, once you've done one, you cut and paste. There's actually some now wizards that are coming into Visual Tools Editor that effectively allow you to what we call snippets that create the structure for doing that. So very, very straightforward and easy. I wouldn't say it's a full, you don't need to be anywhere close to a full developer. Probably the analogy I would use, if you ever use Microsoft Access to create tables and forms, then you'd be able to do that. That's the level of skill that requires.
Okay, great. Another question. We have sites in the UK, France, Netherlands, and the US, all with their own financial standards, tax, etc. Does inventory management work across multiple legal entities with different localizations out of the box?
So the inventory is in the local entity. So if you have inventory in, for instance, North America, for the North American version, so all of the localization in tax, where you need sales tax in America, GST in India, etc., that's all there. You would create a production instance for that location. So if I went to admin, one of the things I didn't mention in there is when you create those production instances, if I went to create new and I said it was a production, I can pick the country that I want that for, and you can see the whole list of countries that are on there. So North America is, they don't give the names unhelpfully, but I think it's US. So that would be a US instance that I'm creating there. Inventory sits in the one instance, so it would be in North America. There is intercompany trading. So if you wanted to sell, out of the UK, if you wanted to sell inventory that was in a North America instance, what it would do is you'd put a sales order on the UK. That would create a back-to-back purchase order to purchase that inventory from the US, which would then go across intercompany to be a sales order in the US. And that can be automated through. In terms of visibility, so we've built extensions that allow you in the UK to see the inventory across production instances. So it publishes a web service out of one, and you can pick that up and display that in the others. There's a couple of seconds lag in terms of displaying other instances inventory. It's not quite as quick as from a retrieval from that database, but you're probably looking, have we got it locally? No. Okay, where have we got it elsewhere, so that you can create that back-to-back transaction. Hopefully that answers that question.
I hope so. I think that was from James Griffin, so I'm sure we'll pop something up. If not, James, I've got to drop off, but there is one more question. It's from Heidi, just queuing up a question for the end of the session. What are the current functional differences between SaaS and on-prem / PaaS? I don't think sandboxes are supported outside of SaaS.
So sandboxes, if creating them is only as easy as I've shown you on SaaS. Absolutely, for definite. You can create a similar setup on PaaS, but you have to do more work to set that up and have it available. So that certainly shows the direction of travel. The administration on SaaS is certainly a lot easier than it is anywhere else. In terms of functional differences, what they're doing is any functional difference they're putting into an extension. So, for instance, there is some links now to some of the predictive capabilities that are on Azure. So, in effect, it will predict your cash flow forecast. It will predict your inventory requirement. So they are putting those into separate extensions. You can install those locally and configure those up. To my knowledge, there's nothing we can't do on PaaS that you can do on SaaS yet. It's the setup time that's significantly different. SaaS is much quicker to do. I think going in the future, I expect capability to come to SaaS that's not available on premise. But I think that they will put those into extensions, so they will be discrete. Quite what those will be, it's probably around the cognitive services, the analytics, some of the reporting that you'll get capability in. The core application, I think they have so many, the vast majority of those 200,000 organizations, including yours, Heidi, is on premise at the moment. They make a lot of money from those on premise customers, so they are not going to abandon those anytime soon.